To most people, especially Americans, you say the word Vietnam and they think war-torn jungles and a dark time in history. That still resonates in America today. But in Vietnam, it's a different story. This tropical Asian country, once the scene of countless images of battles and wars, now proudly shows off a new, thriving tourist scene. The old communist capital of Hanoi, with its frenetic streets.
We're on a rickshaw and there's bikes everywhere and it's crazy.
And colorful markets selling all sorts of things.
I just saw eels, and squids and octopus.
Provides a unique mix of French colonial history, war remnants just now being uncovered.
Oh my god, I don't know how to get up.
And Asian culture.
People leave all this money and no one takes it.
Add to that the natural adventure in nearby mountain areas, jungles, and Halong Bay. Get a feel for the people that live here, check out all the beaches, some snorkeling caves.
Whoa! Whoa!
And we're doing it on this great old traditional boat. And you have an amazing Vietnam experience just waiting to happen. Join us as we discover Hanoi and Halong Bay. Plus, find out what this is.
Sounds like paper.
What Nathan is talking about here.
I was coming along the road and out of the bushes, a goat just came out of nowhere.
And what happened to Seamus's foot.
Feels weird.
In
Travel with Kids Vietnam!
Hello, các bạn, bye bye.
Hello. I'm Nathan. And I'm Seamus.
And we're Mom and Dad.
We're traveling around the world discovering amazing countries, new cultures, and really wild experiences together.
Come along with us as we learn all about our planet and about being together as a family.
As we discover the wonders of the world, the wonders of nature, and sometimes wonder, what were we thinking? In Travel with Kids. Once known as Thang Long, City of Soaring Dragon, Hanoi, which means City in the Bend of a River, served as the capital of French Indochina, and now of Vietnam. Located in the north about 100 miles from the Chinese border, Hanoi is accessible by train and bus from Laos and China. We're taking a 3-day train from Beijing, China, straight through to Hanoi. Thank you.
When we were back in Beijing at our hotel, we thought we had enough time to get on the train, but it was quite an adventure. Traffic, we're about to miss our train. Me and Seamus ran way ahead to ask the driver to hold the train. The guy was stopping at every light. We made it with very little time to spare.
That's right, 3 days on a train. The journey in an older rail car takes you back to the romantic days of train travel. Which means the lack of electricity outlets is not such a romantic notion, though.
I'm stuck on this train for 3 days.
Make sure you have any necessary devices charged pre-journey, or bring a solar charger. Though the lack of electronic gadgets is a welcome break as we spend more time together as a family. The kids love exploring the train, meeting locals, eating in the dining car,
Brought dinner.
watching views of rice fields and towns whirring past the window, amazing views of southern China, and lumpy limestone mountains pass by our window at sunset. 3 days go surprisingly fast when there's really not that much to do. In the middle of the night, we arrive at the border with China and North Vietnam. This middle-of-the-night border crossing at Friendship Pass, as it's called, where we have to switch to a Vietnamese train at 1 in the morning, which means cranky kids and middle-of-the-night passport control. But the overall train journey makes this inconvenience well worth it. One of those true travel experiences you'll always remember.
We arrive in Hanoi, and just as soon as we take a taxi to the Hotel Metropole, the kids discover a bit of history being uncovered.
Where's he going?
It's going inside here.
Built in 1901, Hotel Metropole has been a vital part of the expat scene for decades, and General Manager Kai is on the scene to give us the rundown on the piece of history they are uncovering before our eyes.
You know, these air raid warnings came, and then everybody needed to go into these bunkers. People were hiding until the all clear came again. There's always been this rumor about this air raid bunker.
The air raid bunker was used by guests, dignitaries, and celebrities during the French Indochina War and the Vietnam War, known in Vietnam as the American War.
Jane Fonda, as well documented, and Joan Baez stayed here in the hotel in the 60s and the early 70s, and they both were in this air raid shelter.
It's rumored to be buried somewhere on the hotel grounds and connected to other bunkers in Hanoi by underground tunnels, which the Vietnamese were famous for.
There's also all sorts of rumors that these tunnels are connected to some other bunkers and so on. You know, the Vietnamese were very good at building these tunnel systems.
The hotel decided to renovate the historical bamboo bar this year. They were digging near the pool and they think they might have found something.
Yes, I can see the bunker walls. It's all very deep.
He says it's located right under where we are standing, but very deep down.
They come here with some additional machinery to dig deeper and then go through the actual bunker wall.
Well, we've got confirmation that this bunker exists.
It is quite a discovery.
And his spirit of discovery is contagious.
Can I go down there? He said he could hold me down there.
And where there is mud and boys, you're sure to have some fun.
Wait, where am I going? Oh my god.
And maybe a bit of a mess.
Is it okay if my shorts get wet?
And our little explorers are determined to crawl where no man has crawled before, or at least not in the past 30 years.
This narrow and this wide, and he's digging a tunnel and going dark, and it's super narrow. And it goes that way too, but it's like he has to roll.
It's very difficult to access. As you know, the Vietnamese were masters in tunnel building and bunkers, and it's quite deep down.
Exploring the bunker sparked the kids' interest in the Vietnam War, or should I say the American War as it's called here. So after some R&R time by the pool and a quick stop at the ATM,
We're going to get 2 million dong.
most ATMs in Vietnam are accessible using your card from home. The exchange rate to the dollar makes travel here very affordable. We head to one of the war's most infamous landmarks, Hoa Lo Prison.
We're in the Hanoi Hilton, where they used to hold our prisoners of war during the Vietnam War.
Built by the French in 1896 to house Vietnamese inmates, many of whom were political prisoners, it was later used by the Vietnamese for captured American prisoners of war, who gave it its infamous nickname, the Hanoi Hilton. While most of the prison was demolished, there's a good museum in the small buildings that remain. Personal stories,
Jailers suddenly searched the camp and took away all their books, pencils, cans, chopsticks.
and gruesome exhibits
It was a real guillotine that was actually used.
tell the story of living conditions at the prison in the early 20th century.
Even in here, you're locked up in the little feet skeletons. Yeah, and there's one here that the door's open.
And the kids are fascinated by the fact that Senator John McCain was held here and returned to visit some years later.
Wait, so he came back to where he was held captive?
And they learn a lot about the war.
After learning about the war at the museum and the hotel's bunker, it's time to learn about current Vietnamese culture. So we hop on some cyclos to the old quarter of Hanoi.
Oh, there's a map right here, Mom.
The cyclos basically consist of a bike with a two-person seat on the front.
We're on a rickshaw and there's bikes everywhere and it's crazy.
The city of Hanoi is crazy with industrious and hardworking Vietnamese locals everywhere. You wouldn't even know there was a war here from the way things look on these streets now. The streets here are packed and the cyclos maneuver right alongside cars and motorcycles.
Will they dodge us?
Yeah.
Or will we dodge them, or what?
It can seem a little chaotic to foreigners, but we always recommend taking local transportation. It offers a way to meet the locals and gives you more insight into their culture. Plus, you get a sense of adventure, and it's cheap. And the kids adjust straight away.
I'm gonna make friends. Hi.
Our first stop is Hoan Kiem Lake, where we cross a bridge to Nok Son Temple.
Do you have to light it?
Dedicated to soldiers, physicians, and students, the temple is packed with people, and the kids are fascinated by the variety and value of the offerings.
There's a lot of peace offerings. People leave all this money and no one takes it. There's a lot of Oreos and cakes and food, and a lot of people put stuff on like she just did. These, they put them in a stack nicely.
And they notice the generosity of the Vietnamese culture.
They offer so much.
And the huge spirals of incense.
This is really cool. It like goes round and round and round. It's one of those smoke things, but it goes all the way around.
Oh, how are you?
Em bông.
Em bông à?
Là em cu.
À thế à? Thấy anh cu, thấy em bông à?
The rickshaws take us just south of the lake to the Old Quarter market areas.
Old Quarter? Oh, this is the old part of the city.
The maze of jumbled, narrow streets that make up the Old Quarter buzz with activity.
This is crazier than China.
Vendors stroll next to stalls selling silks, paintings, housewares, ceramics, toys.
Well, that's a lot of balloons. They're just like stuffed and packed in there. There's a strawberry one. There's any balloon you can think of. Turtle.
Pho soup stands spill out into the streets as diners laugh and slurp in tiny chairs. Pho is a traditional dish in Vietnam. It's a soup with noodles, meat, veggies, cilantro, and spices. It's really good. And Nathan learns delicacies come in all shapes and sizes.
Like the food is just crazy what people will eat. Flattened fried squid, pig feet.
Bargaining is expected here in Vietnam.
$15.
And part of the tradition. But remember, the sellers probably have much less than you do.
400,000 baht.
So be firm, but fair and polite.
Seamus, my purse was only 50,000 more than your balloon.
You want a Tintin in Vietnam shirt?
Tintin, yeah.
And it always helps to learn just a few words of the local language to properly thank your hosts.
I'm on.
Yes.
We find a place for dinner that serves something to suit all tastes. Yes, as with anywhere, you can always find pizza. And pizza in North Vietnam is good. Even with the exotic foods on the street, you can usually find familiar foods too. And then we head over to Thang Long Theater for a water puppet show. The theater is near the lake, and our hotel arranged tickets for tonight's show.
We're riding a cyclo to the water puppet show at night, and there's lots and lots of motorcycles. I just saw a girl and she was in high heels on the bike. There's little kids that ride on the motorcycles with the parents, and I've seen like 4 people on one bike. Whoa.
Started by farmers in northern Vietnam over 1,000 years ago, Hanoi is famous for its amazing water puppet theaters. The craft was a carefully guarded secret for centuries, with puppeteers coming from small towns handing the knowledge down from father to son. If you plan to see a water puppet show in Hanoi, be sure to book early as tickets tend to sell out. Instead of just going back to our hotel after the show, we hop a cyclo back to the town square near the lake. Even though it's getting late, it's still family time in Vietnam.
Kids driving around in a remote control car.
Kids race around the park on toy cars and roller skates.
Okay, they're intentionally trying to run into me.
It's amazing to watch these families playing, laughing, and having fun.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Huh?
Just a generation ago, this would not have been possible. The town square scene is just like you would see in any European city, and it's a great way to interact with the locals. Today we're heading about 60 miles east of Hanoi to the ocean and Halong Bay. Designated a World Heritage Site in 1994, the limestone-studded waters of the Gulf of Tonkin glow an emerald green. The narrow peaks are covered in lush forest, carved with caves, and inhabited by monkeys. We're heading out into this amazing wonder with Baya Cruises, who picks us up at our hotel and transports us to the dock. The drive through the bright green rice fields dotted with cemeteries and workers planting the new crop of rice. It takes just over 3 hours to get to the harbor.
1,000 years ago, when the king sailed on the boat on Kai River and he saw a cloud make the shape of soaring dragon, the king decided to move the ancient capital to here and establish the new kingdom.
And in no time, we arrive at the dock and board our ship. There are 1- and 2-night cruises available, but remember, the longer you spend, the more off the tourist track you get, allowing you to see more authentic life in the bay.
So we're going to explore it by cruise. We're taking 2 nights to really get out into the bay, get a feel for the people that live here, check out all the beaches, some snorkeling caves, and we're doing it on this great old traditional boat.
Built to emulate the opulent ship sailed by Emperor Kaidin in the early 20th century, Baya Cruises ships are luxurious yet traditional oriental wooden junk boats. Now, junk doesn't mean it's junk. These boats are actually really nice. It's a kind of ship in Asia. They seamlessly combine Vietnamese style with modern comforts, with less than 20 luxurious cabins per boat.
Whoa! Oh, this one. Hey, look, there's a fan above.
Some with private balconies.
As soon as we get on board, we're served lunch, a scrumptious buffet with yummy pho. And we head out into the bay.
We're going through steep, canyons, like the Three River Gorges, and it's really narrow and very shallow. Hey, I can see the bottom.
Our first stop is Song Sot, or Surprise Cave.
Yeah, I think that's the cave. Look, 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 look. He dropped the anchor. We're going to a cave and a place.
And Nathan and Seamus's new friend they met on the boat is eager to be a big kid with them.
Am I talenting you now?
The cave's 3 huge chambers offer dramatic scenery.
Whoa!
So Halong Bay is the 2nd biggest spot with the most stalactites in the world.
Oh yeah, it's wet over here. Yeah, there's a stalagmite thingy. Is it stalagmites? Dude, do you see all that how big that stalactite is?
It's going and going.
It's not going to stop. We're going through giant, narrow caves, and we don't know how deep. And there's lots of underwater lakes. And he's calling me Anthe. Like a Batman's lair in movies, it'd be evil genius hiding from something. It totally looks like Indiana Jones with the light beaming in on it.
The guide keeps the kids engaged by pointing out different shapes made by the rock formations.
This is the feet of the elephant and the body.
Oh my gosh! Elephant!
And the kids have a new appreciation of how the formations are created.
Where's the raindrops coming from? Soaks in the ground and then comes out. And that's what makes those big pointy things. When a stalactite drips, it drips on the floor, which builds a stalactite on the bottom of the floor, and they build, and they build, and they build, and they build, and they touch, and then they get fatter and fatter and fatter, and look at that one. Whoa, it's huge. Look at that stalactite.
After a while, the kids get pretty good at finding the animal formations.
A dragon, a real one. Look, a turtle.
Turtle is one of sacred animals in Vietnam.
And one very famous kid celebrity makes an appearance.
His nose, beard, long hair, and big gift on the back. Okay, you see Santa Claus?
What do you want for Christmas?
The cave is a great place to explore, but be sure to bring good walking shoes. After hiking through all 3 chambers, the kids are dirty and sweaty. But Christmas comes early this year with the perfect gift.
The beach. Perfectly white sand beach. And there's a white sand beach and we're dropping anchor and we're about to go swim. Now I know what it feels like to walk a plank.
But not this time, me hearty. A small boat ferries us over to the island, or you can take one of the ship's kayaks. The kids have a blast digging in the white sand.
We always say we want to dig a hole to China, but now we can dig a hole back to the USA.
But that hole ends up becoming something else. After all, who wants to go home?
We're making an aquarium.
And as we sit there relaxing on the beach, a mixture of locals and tourists, and the kids find crabs and snails for their sand tank, I look out over the beautiful limestone crags and wonder what lurks beyond the next one for us. Ah, the adventure of Halong Bay. We end the evening with a Vietnamese cooking lesson on the top deck.
Deep fried spring roll.
Sounds like paper. You can even hear it rip.
Rice paper is fascinating to them.
Try a regular rice paper. Hey!
Is it paper or is it rice?
Okay. I don't know if that's rice.
But add the other ingredients to the spring roll.
Vegetable like carrot, onion, spring onion, wood fungus, mushroom, some meat like pork, seafood or chicken, and then you mix on with some spice you like.
Shrimp, beef, carrots, and the noodles stuff. Yeah, okay. Do it like a taco. No! Do that. No. Roll it up. Kind of.
Kind of.
Can I try? Now I call this a spring roll.
They also teach the kids to cut vegetables into beautiful garnishes, which Seamus really seems to enjoy.
He's cutting carrots, but they're so thin. I don't get how he does it. He made a flower out of a carrot. Wow. He cut up a tomato into really thin, and he's rolling it back up, so it's a rose. Whoa.
And we end our evening with a toast, dinner, and squid fishing. Wait, shouldn't that squid fishing come before dinner?
I'm using leverage. There it is, Seamus, grab it. Put it back in, put it back in. Put it back in. Oh! What's that feel like? It bit you? Yeah, it hurt. You okay?
One of the main benefits of taking the 2-night cruise instead of the 1 night is you get to spend day 2 exploring further into Halong Bay. So this morning we're transferred with the other 2-nighters to a smaller boat, where we'll spend the day exploring and then meet up with our bigger ship as it returns with more 1-night passengers. All of our belongings in our cabin stays the same. We just split off boats for the day and then meet back up.
Have a good trip. Bye-bye.
The kids find a friend in the other 2-day passengers, and although he does not speak English, they figure out how to play hide-and-seek together anyway.
Where is he?
Kids seem to overcome language barriers much easier than adults. We found the kids will make friends anywhere in any country, whether or not they speak the same language.
3, 5. Oh.
And the staff is really good with the kids. They even let them play right through the kitchen.
Something smells fishy, literally. We're cruising through narrow rocks and cliffs going to Catball Island, where we're gonna ride bicycles and swim and kayak. Where is Catball Island?
Good question, Seamus. It's about 10 miles south of Halong City, and one of the largest islands in Halong Bay. As we pass small villages with houses floating in the water is almost an avocado green in some places.
It looks like lime jello or apple jello. Lots of apple jello. You turned this into a cooking show, you scoundrel. Ah!
When we arrive at Cat Ba, we get bikes and helmets, but they don't seem to have a bike small enough for Seamus. No worries. They just ride him on the cargo rack to take him into the village, where there is a kid bike that he can use for the way back. Although after riding in the seat of luxury in this terrain, I'm not sure if he'll want to pedal all the way back.
It's so steep and there's lots of loud bugs and it's really hot and we have to walk our bikes all the way up this really steep hill. But then it goes straight down.
So we're riding bikes deep into the jungle of Katba Island in Halong Bay.
And the scenery is spectacular. We bike through lush jungle, tumbling down limestone crags, where animals emerge from nowhere.
I was coming along the road and out of the bushes, a goat just came out of nowhere and I had to dodge it.
As we leave the hilly areas, we have a view over the village.
It means the Viet, it means the Vietnamese, and Hai, it means the sea. So the small group of the Vietnamese living in the middle of the sea. First people discovered this area from 1948. At the first time, had only 4 families, and now the population is growing up very quickly.
It's been amazing. We're seeing the local village really getting into the local life, rice fields with ox. Kids are tasting fruits right off the tree. They're having a great time.
These berries, picked fresh off the tree, are sweet, and then they taste a little bitter and then sour.
And then we have some time to rest, have a cold drink, a snack,
Ammonia.
and meet some of the locals.
Back on the boat, the boys enjoy a snack they picked up in the village.
We got this bag of lychees for 50 cents. Want to try one? I mean, I don't get how this could be so good if it's just like a lychee nut. Thank you. They're super fragilistic exhalidocious and they're really sour than sweet.
And lunch?
Holy cow, don't eat it. It's spicy. It's good, but it's spicy.
Hello, my name is Joe.
And then it's time for a refreshing dip in the cool waters. And then we hop on the ship's kayaks and head out to explore some limestone formations and nearby caves. The kayaking here is unbelievable. We make our way through narrow streams that open up into bigger areas, surrounded by lush green jungle. In the water, we pass a pod of jellyfish that glide through the water with graceful movements. It's like we've discovered a lost world. It's a one-of-a-kind experience we'll always remember.
When we were kayaking, we went through really narrow caves and we saw lots of jellyfish, really cool jellyfish, and monkeys rustling in the trees.
Back on the main ship, we enjoy the views on our balcony before dinner. And then the kids get into another rambunctious game of tag while we go and relax with the other parents. But suddenly we hear a thud, and Seamus comes limping up saying he hit his foot on one of the high door jambs common to ships. And as the night goes on, we're getting concerned. The ship's manager has a look and decides to call the Hotel Metropole in Hanoi. It's a long journey back, and we're not sure what to expect from a hospital in North Vietnam.
They've arranged transport to take us to the SOS International Clinic, where an English-speaking doctor, who's actually from a city near ours back in the United States, examines Seamus's foot and takes x-rays.
So we had a little accident on the boat and Seamus was running and jammed his foot into the doorway. And luckily for us, there is an international doctors organization called SOS International, and they've managed to x-ray his foot, and we found out that he broke 2 bones. So there's a doctor here that's cast his foot and given him some crutches.
But while the doctors have fixed him up, we have to decide what to do. Reschedule a missed flight to Ho Chi Minh City in the south of Vietnam and continue on with the next few weeks of our trip. Or do we actually have to head home early? The cast is removable to make it easier for baths and swimming, but the crutches don't fit quite right, and with all our luggage and the regular challenges of traveling with kids in general, will this prove too much? Find out how the story ends in the next episode of Travel with Kids, or visit travelwithkids.tv.